exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to L.O.G on MYP. I'm Matthew Duch, here again with Chris Ackerman, as we dive into this mini-series where we talk about the 2002 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon series from Mike Young Productions. We're going to go episode by episode, giving our reviews, our rankings, and so much more. Curtis, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. You?
Wonderful. I am ready to trust you as we
Wait.
go along in this episode.
You know what? I think we're wearing the same shirts that we had on last week.
No.
I think so. I know I am.
I thought I wore my Zelda shirt last week, but I could be wrong. It's
Maybe I
it's
could
been
be
a
wrong.
whole week, so
That's true.
it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I trust you though that you're wearing the same shirt.
Oh, I definitely am. So yeah. It's it's that point in the fall where it's kind of getting a little bit chillier. So I got it's like the mid sleeve. It's not long
nice.
sleeve, not short sleeve. It's
A
like
baseball tee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
like
this
it.
works out well for this kind of middle ground. So
It is not getting colder here. If anything, I think it's getting hotter. We're back up in the 90s again this week. So
really in
Yeah.
October?
yeah, it's been terrible
Crazy.
over here. Yes.
Okay.
But we're not here to do the weather report. We are here to talk some Mike Young Productions. We are on episode 18. That is Trust, written by William Forrest Cluverius, directed by Gary Hartel, story edited by Dean Stefan. Final draft was approved of June 7th, 2002, and this originally aired in the U.S. on March 8th of 2003. Cartoon Network episode description: Stratos must form an uneasy alliance with Trapjaw to survive the perilous ice mountains. So this one was pretty straightforward. No big secrets there.
I will say if I read that description ahead of time, I would have been super stoked for this episode. I would have had
Absolutely.
high expectations because like growing up, those were my two favorite Masters characters. Stratos was my favorite character on the good guy side, and Trapjaw was my favorite character on the bad guy side. So hearing that, if I was watching, obviously I didn't know about this at the time, the series, and
Right.
stuff, but had I read that and knew that was coming up the next week, that my two favorite characters were going to be doing a team up, I would have been over the moon.
For sure. And just getting that love. I mean, Stratos has had a bit of attention. But really, you think about it, for Trapjaw, for all his coolness, he's always a fan favorite villain. But definitely watching this episode really had me thinking, like, what has Trapjaw really done up till now? And he really hasn't. I mean, he's been there,
Yep.
but he hasn't really had a role. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't. So again, we're kind of in this first season thing of like, here's Merman's episode, here's Whiplash's episode, here's Triclops' episode. It's like, okay, now we're getting into a Trapjaw episode.
Yeah.
And then having Stratos here. The other thing it telegraphs to me is this is going to be one of the episodes where He-Man maybe fades a bit to the background and we really get to see, which I like. I like when we get episodes where it's like a master and a villain, and He-Man can kind of take a back seat because I like learning more about these people. So,
Well, and as much as I loved the early, vintage and filmation style of Stratos and Trapjaw, I think both of them have excellent upgrades. Like
100%.
the way that they're drawn in the MYP series just amps both of them up to the next level. So
absolutely. So we start off the episode. We're at the palace. Triclops Attacks the royal palace, breaking Merman out of prison. Man-Arms laments the fact that in spite of the double reinforced Eternian steel, the prison walls can still not withstand a gamma blast.
Which I guess I didn't even think of like a prison in the palace. Now I knew we saw an earlier episode where they fake locked up Ram Man for a little bit.
Yep.
But that was like down like on the bottom floor, like on the bottom level.
Right.
It wasn't up in the air like in a tower.
Well, see, I kind of figured that whole tower was the prison.
Gotcha.
So
Which
like
is
Ram
totally
Man
possible.
yeah.
I don't know how Triclops would know exactly where Merman's at, but you know, maybe the Doom Seekers that nobody ever seems to notice.
He's got Skeletor air tags all his henchmen.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting though that they go through the trouble of breaking out Merman only for you to never see him the rest of the episode.
Well, and my thing kind of was this
like,
is
you would think that he would be playing into some larger plan that they had, but no.
And not only that, but it's like you said, not even if the whole prison is a tower, like you put your one of your most dangerous villains that you've captured and you put him on the top floor with a single guard posted up there. Like, oh, come on. We know they have flying vehicles, but my thing though is it would have been like we haven't seen Merman, I want to say since Deep End. Maybe he's popped up here and there, but like it would have been cooler if it was a villain that they had tangled with more recently. And so you could be like, oh, they actually
in this episode, like if it was Trapjaw or if it was somebody that you're going to see in this episode, or, you know, even like if they did just a little quick thing where once they got back to Snake Mountain or something, they explained why they needed him for something or whatever. Cause Skeletor just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's just breaking people out because he likes them or because he cares about them. Like there's got to be some sort of reason he needs them. So to break him out and then not have any sort of plan or explanation, because they could have put anybody in that prison. They didn't explain why Merman was in there or how he got captured or anything. So you could have put literally anybody in there.
Well, that's what I mean. I think I would have liked it even more if it had been like in a previous episode, we ended the episode with them actually capturing somebody.
Yeah.
And then we see like, oh, like, you know, at the, or even at the end of the last episode, instead of Triclops having his throne room moment with Skeletor, like you could have actually had them stop Triclops. And then this episode is them busting Triclops out of prison. Yeah. Like that could have been, you know, they do those little things, those little payoffs. And this just seems like an obvious, like, hey, let's set this up an episode or two before that we end the episode with the Masters capturing one of the villains, and now they bust him out.
Yeah,
like
that would have been great.
But yeah, so Man-Arms, which I also like that their bricks that they use are made out of steel. So
steel bricks, double reinforced Eternian steel.
Right. But it's all the wall's all a brick pattern, and you even have rebar like sticking out of it. So
no, it's double reinforced Eternian steel. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which still Triclops can easily blast. That's the strongest metal they know of.
Yeah. Except
Stratos mentions Eternium, which he seems to be the only person who's heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that's supposed to be the strongest metal ever known. And he believes deposits of it can be found in the ice mountains of the frozen north, a remote and dangerous region, which Stratos volunteers to go scout out for the Masters.
For sure.
No problem. Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows that birds love cold weather, and they usually fly directly towards cold weather. You know, they're really the best at it. So, I don't know. I don't know why all of a sudden he was the obvious pick to go into the freezing cold, but you know.
Well, and here's we'll just jump right into my issue with the episode here is the fact that like Stratos just kind of mentions this, and Man-Arms is like, yeah, whatever, basically. Yeah. Like no one really seems interested in pursuing this rumor except for Stratos.
Right.
But then we're going to find out that they're like staying in constant contact while Stratos is out doing it. So it's like,
it's a very important mission, but they send him by himself into a really dangerous area. Yes.
But we're going to monitor you the entire time. and freak out when we can't get a hold of you. Like
Yeah.
and the episode seems like it should be to set up like Stratos out on his own, but they do the opposite, and it's a really weird thing. And then Skeletor does the same thing, as we'll find out here with Trapjaw. Like he sends just him, but then they're in constant contact. It's like, well, if you're just gonna sit around and listen to the radio, why don't we just all go? Like, it's like, hey, honey, you want to go to the grocery store? Nah, but just stay on the phone with me and just talk me through the entire trip there. Like,
tell me what's in every single aisle. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Well,
and as he's having that conversation with them, so there's like a big hole in the wall, right, where they blasted. They're having the conversation. The Doomseeker is right outside the hole, just like looking right at them. Nobody notices. Nobody notices the Doomseeker. And this is where
why does Skeletor even need to be watching right now? They already busted Merman out of prison.
I don't know, but the thing, like, this is where I think the payoff from the whole Mechanek's lament could have come in. Like, Mechanek is supposed to be that reconnaissance guy. He's supposed to be the one that like notices these things and sees it and all this kind of stuff. But like, these Doomseekers are flying around all the time, recording everything that they're doing, and nobody notices. Like, instead of having him bite stuff with his super teeth, I don't know, maybe have him every once in a while catch these Doomseekers flying around. So, but anyway, I digress.
I agree with you. It's a really weird setup. So yeah, Skeleton.
And also, Man-at-Arms had some like strange metal detector already made up. It's ready to go.
Well, no, it's a metal detector. Thank you. I did forget that. It's a metal detector that detects unknown metals.
Gotcha.
So
I don't know how it would know that it's an unknown metal to detect it, but
because it doesn't know that it's a known metal. So once it detects the metal, it has to know that it's not a known, that it must be an unknown metal.
But how does it know if it's a metal at all if it's an unknown metal?
Because it detects it.
Exactly. You don't explain these things. It's just he already had it ready to go. He just hands it to Stratos and off you go.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
We're good to go. And here's the other thing, right? So us being vintage fans, so obviously Cartoon Network episode description, Trust is going to be an awesome episode, Stratos and Trapjaw. I also always love the team up episodes where I have to team up with my enemy. Like that always
it's so much fun.
Right. So we've already got that, and now in the first scene they're like, we have to go find Eternium. Knowing from the Filmation series that Eternium is a very powerful metal, and in that series it featured in Double-Edged Sword, where Trapjaw used it to get super powered once he ate it, and to where he was stronger than He-Man. So now I'm really buzzing. It's like, okay, we got Stratos, we got Trapjaw, we got Eternium. This is gonna be awesome. Meanwhile, back at Snake Mountain, so Skeletor realizes that he could also use this unknown metal to make stronger weapons. Trapjaw is there, and he states that the metal could be used to reinforce his own armor. So Skeletor tells him to go follow Stratos to the Mystic Mountains and find this Eternium.
Well, and I think that's kind of cool. Like when he says that, when Trapjaw says that it could be used to reinforce his own armor and stuff, I'm like, in my mind, when I see this for the first time, I'm like, they're going to make a new toy of Trapjaw with some sort of super powered battle armor or something. This is going to be the catalyst for giving us an awesome new Trapjaw that's like to the max. So that's kind of my thinking as soon as I hear that, just FYI.
Well, and again, playing off the vintage where Eternium powers him up, it's like, okay, so now this is going to take that and make it a little bit more realistic, quote unquote, where instead of just like magically powering them up, he's actually using it because he is mostly metal, to where he's gonna Roboto himself, So we are next in the Ice Mountains. There's a terrible storm coming in. So Stratos is forced to walk instead of fly, which again also must be great as a bird person to now have to trudge across the snowy landscape.
One more thing, real quick, on the trap jaw thing, because I wanted to throw this out there. Like, we saw him eating metal, like just chomping on metal, which,
Right.
you know, filmation and everything else aside, this version of Trapjaw, as far as we know, like, you know, we haven't covered like the icons of evil, but those things are supposed to be tied in together.
Right.
And we've even seen at the beginning of this series where he was, you know, Cronus at the beginning, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden, whatever happened, you know, maybe let's say we don't know about icons of evil, whatever happened, now he's Trapjaw. So he was at one point, he was just a regular person. But now he's got these cybernetic parts. Okay, cool.
Right.
But now he eats metal. Like, how does that provide him with some sort of nourishment? Does that, like, how does that work? I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
I think that's it. Like, he eats his fuel. Like, he is mostly, especially in this series, he seems mostly mechanical.
Mhm.
So, but he instead of filling up his gas tank, he literally ingests these
Just eats
minerals
metal.
and stuff
Gotcha.
to keep him going. Yeah,
I think it's cool.
I'm good
I
with
just
that.
didn't-
Yeah.
I just didn't. Yeah, I have no problem with it. I just think it's interesting because it's like they don't really explain like how his system works and why he would either
Right.
want to or need to eat metal. But the fact that he does and he uses his jaw to chomp on metal is freaking cool. So I'm here for
Absolutely.
it. So
And like I said, this rewatching this episode made me realize how little we know about Trapjaw in this
Mhm.
series, just based on, you know, episode 1 through 18 at this point. Like how
Yeah.
little Trapjaw's really touched. Obviously we have Icons of Evil, we've got our filmation, you know, backgrounds. But yeah, they really have not used Trapjaw in this series up until
Well,
now.
and the other kind of interesting thing with this design of Trapjaw is only his bottom jaw is metal, right? The top is just like a regular person's teeth.
Yeah, the top's his face. Yep.
So when he's biting on metal,
Yeah.
I get that the bottom part is strong, but it's pushing up against the top part, which is just a normal, and he's just chewing through metal. And like I said,
that's how much of a badass
works,
he is.
but
Like,
it's cool.
yeah.
I'm for it. So
Nope, I completely agree.
yeah. All right. Sorry. Stratus
No,
is
you're
now
good.
walking through the snow.
Yeah, Strauss has to trudge through the snow. Trapjaw is flying on his pterodactyl, and he surprises Stratos. The pair begin to fight. And
Real quick, sorry. When he pulls out the metal detector, I just thought it was cool when he because he like takes this thing and he like pulls it out like this. It looks like he's unsheathing a lightsaber because like he pulls it out like this and there's like this green beam, and it just looked really cool. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Like before Trapjaw attacks him, like he pulls this out and it lights up and then it kind of starts blinking to where maybe this metal is, and at that point is when Trapjaw comes and blasts him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did like that. Thank you for pointing that. I like the way that the unknown metal detector operated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they start fighting. Stratos
they lose communication between him and Man-at-Arms.
Yeah, this is the part that really threw me. It's like who cares? Like the fact that they're just sitting there like Stratos, oh, you haven't checked in for 30 seconds. Like, dude,
right.
You didn't even care about Eternium a minute ago. Like,
yeah, even like within the palace, like where they're at, like even I think it was like Tila that's like, well, maybe it's just bad weather. Like, you know, it's
right.
Like he's going into this terrible weather condition area. Maybe it's just now it turns out it's not, and there is something wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, they got the radar up and they're tracking the storm coming in and everything, and it's just like I think it would have been better, honestly, if Stratos had brought up the rumor of Eternium and Man-at-Arm had dismissed it, and Stratos was like, "Well, I'll take matters into my own hand then."
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the rest of the episode, but at this point, people should have watched it. But we're going to see He-Man
Right.
at some point. So if you were going to include He-Man in this episode, right? I think what they could have done is said, you know, hey, Stratus is going to go do this. We've got other things that we're working on. We got to rebuild this wall or whatever. And we got things that we're going to work on here. Stratus is going to go and then have Man-at-Arms tell Adam, like, hey, just follow him. Just make sure that he doesn't get into trouble or something, and could have sent He-Man after him and cut out the whole communication and all that kind of stuff. I think that would have worked a little bit better.
Or at best done, okay, Stratos, you want to pursue those crazy rumors, go ahead. Check in with us and, you know, and set a time. So, like, there's a reason for them later to be...
Maybe. I just think
and
could have sent He-Man as kind of backup just to watch and make sure that everything's good. And then you don't have to worry about the communicating and all that kind of stuff. But that works too.
But just something other than all of them, like, literally sitting there on the phone with him the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stratos and Trapjaw fight. I did not write it down, but I believe this is the part where Stratos literally rips his gun off of his arm.
Well, a couple things first. So they're fighting up above ground. You know, Trapjaw had blasted him, had took the metal detector, and he's about ready to just murder Stratos. So Stratos is laying face down in the snow, and Trapjaw is got his gun pointed at him, and he's ready to just like murder him. Stratos moves and like kind of does this like jujitsu move or something to kind of use his weight against him, which then causes them to fall through this cavern all the way down to the ground. And then once they get down there, then they start fighting again. And yes, Stratos just flat out rips off Trapjaw's gun arm. Just, tears it right off.
No, it's crazy. He holds him at gunpoint with his own gun arm.
Yeah.
And that's when we realize that Stratos has a broken wing and Trapjaw has a broken leg. And that shot of them like laying at the bottom of that chasm with Trapjaw's leg just like completely turned at like the wrong angle.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I like that they went there.
Yeah, it's a little bit more serious. You know, it's not the Bugs Bunny, like the bomb blowing up in your face and you just got the black powder on, I think they were going to get hurt here. So
I think they were able to go there because of Trapjaw being a robotic character.
Yeah,
because that's what we see. Because you see the wiring and stuff coming out of his leg.
Same thing with Roboto in the last episode. Right. Like he made it to where he was what looked like maybe dead, but he's a robot. So they can, they can fix him up and stuff. So yeah, I think it allows them to be a little bit more extreme. Yeah. It's kind of like when you watch the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, like they're able to do these crazy fight scenes because neither one of them can die,
Exactly.
So yeah.
Realizing that they both have injuries, the pair have no choice but to work together to locate an exit,
which Trapjaw recommends, which I thought that was interesting. Like it wasn't Stratos convincing Trapjaw that we should work together. Trapjaw is like, hey, the only way we're going to get out of this is if we work together, which I think tells me his leg injury is seriously bad. And the only reason he's suggesting that is because he knows he's not going to make it out if Stratos doesn't help him.
He's not going to make it out, and he feels he can't take Stratos in this condition. He's lost his gun arm. His legs all jacked up. You need to pause?
No, it's telling me that I got to take my vitamins, but I will do that after this episode.
Fair enough. Curtis is delaying his vitamins for you guys, the viewers.
For Stratos and Trapjaw too.
Back at the palace, the masters find themselves no longer able to communicate with Stratos. Prince Adam transforms into He-Man and takes Battlecat off to the Ice Mountains.
Hold on. Before he transforms, this is one of my favorite Prince Adam to He-Man moments. They're sitting there talking about the fact that they lost communication to Stratos, and Man-at-Arms like, yeah, but it's too dangerous to send anybody. And they're kind of all talking about that. And all of a sudden Adam goes, hey, I think I just saw He-Man coming by. like he's just randomly walking through the palace. He's like, oh, I think I saw He-Man. And darts off, and next thing you know, he turns into He-Man. It was cracking me up. That was great.
But also he never goes back into the room. He
No.
transforms into He-Man and he takes off.
Yes.
So, and I do like that Man-at-Arms
the fact that
instantly
he's like, oh, hey, I think I saw him. You know,
right. But then Man-at-Arms instantly sends Tila to go do something like, oh, I can't have her going out into that hallway right now.
That's funny.
But yeah, we could go back with Stratos and Trapjaw in the caverns below the mountains. They're already finding it difficult. Trapjaw already tries to double cross Stratos. He tries to attack
early
him.
and often.
Yeah, and this is the part for me where it's like, man, couldn't we have done this for a minute? Like, actually built some trust for like it means nothing when Trapjaw when Trapjaw oh my god, I can't talk today. I keep wanting to say Triclops because we just had the Triclops episode last week.
Yes, last week.
When Trapjaw betrays Stratos, it means nothing because we didn't build any sort of time with them. Like, they limped along with each other for like 30 seconds.
Right.
And then Trapjaw's immediately like, sucker punch, pocket sand.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see them work a little bit better together, but at the same time, you know, he is an evil warrior. You expect him to double cross him. I would have probably thought that he would wait to double cross him until they had the Eternium in hand.
Right.
Especially since he's still battered and bruised and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's it. He tries to betray Stratos, and Stratos like is ready to leave him laying on the ground. He's like, all right, dude, I like this killer cold Stratos. Like, all right, dude,
yeah.
I tried to help you. I'm out.
Yeah.
And
Trapjaw has to give him like this guilt trip. Like, you're supposed to be the big hero. You're supposed to, you know, you're not supposed to do this kind of stuff. So
yeah, they hear these beasts approaching. Stratos is ready to just leave him, and Trapjaw guilts him into helping him again. And it's like, so that's what I mean. I think this all would have worked better if there hadn't been that betrayal right there, and we would have actually, you know,
right.
But yeah, Stratos uses Trapjaw's gun to cause a cave-in, create a temporary barricade, and the two continue on together.
Yep.
We join back up with He-Man and Battle Cat, which He-Man is now sporting his first variant armor of the series. He is wearing his ice armor,
which I definitely want to talk about. Can we pause for just a minute, though?
I got it. All right, we are back. Curtis got his toys.
Yeah. So we were talking about the He-Man, Ice He-Man design.
Yes.
Which I think is the coolest thing that they have done so far. Like as far as, you know, giving them an alternative outfit and stuff. Like, this thing just looks amazing. I don't know that I'm sold on the one pauldron. Like, I think it would have been better just to have the Arctic fur and not have that one pauldron. But still, I think that he looks awesome.
Yeah.
Looks so good.
I think if anything, you take away the icicle part of the pauldron. Like, leave the pauldron, but not have the big icicle sticking out.
But I do like the ice axe that he's got. That is cool.
Yeah, and so this is the closest we ever get to seeing the toy axe in the show. This is the only time he has an axe. However, the ice armor He-Man figure did not come with an axe. So this ice axe is it's based on the design of the toy He-Man axe, but it's icified. So yeah, the ice armor He-Man figure came with an ice spear that he used. So.
Gotcha.
And we'll definitely be getting into the toys at some point. But yeah, so this is the first time, and that is one of the variants that was actually sculpted by the Four Horsemen. So
it looks super cool. Like, I mean, it's got like these Conan vibes, but then also, you know, just that snowy. I don't know. As a kid, I always liked anything where they did it like an Arctic theme. you know, whether it was G.I. Joe or He-Man or anything that came out that was just white colored or any sort of Arctic thing. I loved it. And you know, living here in Missouri, you know, we typically would get snow as a kid. I don't know, maybe like for about 2-3 weeks a year. And that would be about it. And during those 2 or 3 weeks, like any kind of character that I had that had a white vehicle or you know, fur or anything like that, they were going outside to play with me. So yeah, I just think this is a cool design. And if I was a kid watching this, I would have been all about getting that figure.
Absolutely. So. It was definitely one of the best variants of the line. And the only thing I wish is that they had explained it, because when we see him transform into He-Man, he's in his regular armor.
Yes.
And then when we're in the mountains, he's in this. So did he like stop in, like he's got a closet hidden in the back of Prince Adam's closet? He's got some different He-Man armors. And then obviously stuff that happens in season 2 kind of changes how we look at the different armors. So I wish they'd done the transformation scene with him changing it straight into the ice armor, personally.
Yeah.
Just kind of that power of Grayskull knowing he needs the upgrade for this mission type thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no difference in Battle Cat, right?
No.
Like so He-Man gets like this cool stuff to protect him from the, you know, the snow and stuff. I mean, he's still going to be bare chested, you know.
Right. Well, you gotta be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to cover up the abs and stuff, but
come on, dude.
Yeah,
I'm He-Man. You're gonna cover this up,
right? But yeah, Battle Cat gets nothing. It's like, yeah, it's cold, but whatever. Like, deal with it.
Mattel said it's fine. There's no toy for Battle Cat this wave, so it's fine. But yeah, so they're heading up to where Stratos last checked in. Once they get there, they find a pterodactyl frozen, covered, because it is snowing really bad. They do a good job in this episode showing the storm coming in. And He-Man does find a half-frozen Doomseeker and says, Triclops must be here. Mm-hmm. So they do know about them, and they do know that they're Triclopses.
Yes. To which then Skeletor is above and says, actually, he gives him the actually it was Trapjaw.
Yeah. That was definitely a weird little bit there. Like, yeah, I don't know if it felt like there should have been more somehow. I don't know if it was weird.
I don't know. I at this point in the episode, I'm so in love with the new He-Man design. I'm excited to see, you know, Trapjaw and Stratos. I'm enjoying this episode at this point. So I don't think there's any plot holes or stupidity that they could pull at this point that wasn't going to make me enjoy this episode.
Gotcha. I guess for me, I almost wondered if it's like, as you've seen in this episode, I've struggled with the Triclops Trapjaw just talking about them. Mm-hmm. So I almost wondered if it was like something like that, where it's like, oh,
maybe
that was weird. I lost my place.
Stratos and Trapjaw are trying to get away from the noise that they heard in the distance. There's like something chasing after them. And then Stratos uses Trapjaw's gun to blast to where like the ceiling kind of caves in a little bit and kind of protects them from whatever is chasing them. We don't know at this point. But then as they turn forward, they realize that there's nowhere to go forward. So now they're stuck where they're at. Yep. So, but they do look up and they see kind of an opening at the top. But that's it. And then it cuts back to Skeletor and He-Man fighting.
Yep, they fight. The end of which finds He-Man plummeting from the mountain, allowing the evil warriors to continue in their search for Trapjaw and the Eternium. And I like how Skeletor blasts He-Man down the mountain and Battle Cat's sitting there and just like, all right, let's go find Eternium.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Well,
like the cat means nothing.
Right. Yeah, and he doesn't even like follow up. I mean, they're in flying vehicles. They could easily fly down there and just check, like, is He-Man dead? Is it can we finish him off? Like, this guy's been a thorn in our side for all this time, but he's just like, we're good. Let's keep going. So
Well, it's also kind of weird that Stratos had trouble flying. Trapjaw had to land the pterodactyl, but the Griffins are able to just like, yeah, we're good.
yeah,
Storm,
no problem.
Yeah.
They got
fine.
fur, so they're all right.
I guess Stratos doesn't have enough fur.
That's it.
Back underground, they Trapjaw and Stratos spy the opening above them. Trapjaw utilizes his grappling hook attachment, very Batman-esque.
Yep.
And he starts pulling them up towards the opening. But, spoiler, surprise, he is not going to take Stratos with him and betrays him again.
Drops him
As Stratos falls to the ground. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. And we're left with Stratos unconscious on the ground, being surrounded by these white, snowy beasts.
That all of a sudden speak.
Yes.
You're like, oh, wait a minute. These aren't just mindless creatures. Like, these are, this is intelligent beings here. So,
when Stratos awakens, he is greeted by the leader of these beasts, who we find out are named Kulatux. Their leader is King Chubla, and he is in their village. Huh?
The leader sounds eerily like Man at Arms.
I actually think it was Campbell Lane voiced the Kulatux Elder.
Oh, okay.
And he was the voice of Skeletor in the New Adventures of He-Man series.
It sounded a lot like Man at Arms to me, but okay. I figured it was the same guy.
Which is kind of funny because Man at Arms, I don't know if we mentioned before, but in this series, Man at Arms is voiced by Gary Chalk, who voiced He-Man in the New Adventures of He-Man series. So
gotcha. So somebody watched New Adventures and said, "Hey, this cartoon's terrible, but the voices are good."
Well, yeah, I mean, we still need voice actors, and that's the funny thing. I really like Gary Chalk as Man at Arms. His He-Man is hit or miss, but like he's really good at Man at Arms. But yeah, so the leader he accuses Stratos of trespassing in order to steal Eternium, their most valuable resource. Stratos denies the accusation, even though that really kind of is.
I mean, he said he did say,
like,
I was here to get it, but I didn't realize that it belonged to somebody. We just thought it was in the mountain, whatever. To which then Trapjaw just appears again out of nowhere. Now he just pulled himself to safety, but somehow he's now back inside the cave and he's trash talking Stratos and is like, hey, I've been scouting this dude.
Right.
I'm a friend of yours, and I'm telling you, this guy was going to take your stuff.
Yep.
So
the Kulatag leader orders that both Trapjaw and Stratos be locked in a supply chamber while he contemplates which one should be trusted.
Yes. But of course, when they lock him in there, there's definitely going to be Eternium just sitting around in there, right? Because these two guys that are trying to steal Eternium, the one place that you would lock them up is where there's some Eternium for sure.
Right. Well,
yeah.
And for the way I took it was they're the small village and they're remote. Like they don't have a prison. So what's the one thing we can lock? Oh, we can lock the supply chambers.
Right.
So we're going to stick them in there. So
I just think it's funny because obviously it turns out that they're much smarter than that.
Right.
But in Trapjaw's mind, like, oh, awesome. They just locked me in here with the stuff that I wanted.
And that's it. It's Trapjaw's assuming that they're idiots. And I mean, we're led to assume that even though Trapjaw got through that opening, that he was watching and followed and figured out. But that's also like a big leap. Like, because we go from Eternium being this rumor to it being like the whole basis of this civilization that we didn't even know about. Right. And then all of a sudden Trapjaw's there immediately with like this, I'm going to make them think I'm the good guy plan.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it kind of would have been better just to let Stratos and Trapjaw team up and actually do that. And then this is where Trapjaw betrays him.
Yeah, I would have really liked that. The He-Man Christmas movie where we get that moment of Skeletor kind of, maybe having a good part of him.
Right.
Like I would have liked to see that here. I would have liked to see like them actually work together, and maybe even Trapjaw showing some sort of empathy or care or something for Stratos, building some sort of bond, only to then turn on him at the end.
Yep.
But because of the way they wrote this, like he's been turning on him the whole time. Like there's not been a spot where, so I just feel like you could have built that bond a little bit better to make the turn at the end more impactful.
Exactly. Even if it's just Trapjaw doing it for self-preservation, because they really can't survive on their own right now.
Correct.
So, like we must do this, but instead it's just betray.
Yep. So he sees some Eternium.
Yep.
And he decides he's gonna take a bite out of it because it's the strongest substance known to man. So clearly his jaw, which is not made of that substance, is going to be strong enough, and his upper part that's just human teeth or whatever race that he is going to be strong enough to chew through the hardest metal known in existence.
As a Filmation fan at this point,
Yes.
knowing the double-edged sword episode, let's go. Yeah, eat it. Yes, here we go.
He takes a bite.
He does. And he immediately gets to be the most sick Trapjaw in Eternia.
Yeah, because it's not Eternium, it's Deuterium. I love that. I love Deuterium. It's just such a great name.
Yes. It makes him sick. The Kulatuks reveal that they have been watching this whole time, double-sided glass style police squad. And now the Kulatuk leader knows who he can trust.
Yep. Yeah, and not by word alone, but by deed, he tells Stratos. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, Skeletor has now followed Trapjaw's air tag and located him right where he is. And he comes in blasting, ready to take all the actual Eternium for himself.
And the evil warriors look awesome here. Like they are imposing. Like Evelyn shows up and her eyes are glowing like pink, and she's like just looks badass. Like, you're like, okay, stuff's ready to go down. Like they're about ready to tear some stuff up.
Absolutely.
So,
Stratos takes a blast from Skeletor's Havoc staff. He is incapacitated. Luckily, He-Man arrives because Skeletor didn't have the bones to finish the job. And he confronts the evil warriors, who run away when the Kulatuks drop a supply of Eternian on top of them, threatening to bury them.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that's kind of what they wanted, though.
Yeah. And then the next thing we see is Trapjaw like in these Eternian stocks. Like they've taken the metal, and he's like, and so kind of like what you were saying at the beginning of the episode, where like it would have been cool if they captured Triclops in the previous episode and that's what they're rescuing. It's like you see this and you're like, okay, well, like the other evil warriors got away, but not Trapjaw. Like they've got him there. What's going to happen with this as we move forward? So
exactly. And He-Man is creating a silo or fixing the silo for them to store the Eternium in. And before departing, Stratos thanks the Kulatuk leader for teaching him the valuable lesson about trust and the fact that it must be earned by action and not by word alone. Stratos gives his communication device to the Kulatuks and tells them that the Masters will be there to help them should they ever be threatened again.
The communication
even though
it wasn't working.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah.
So this will bring us here unless there's a storm, or unless you forget to pay your bill, or unless
And Man-at-Arms checks this every 15 seconds, so don't worry about that.
Don't worry, it's always open. The line's always open, even when you're doing nothing.
It's like the bat phone. You don't have to dial, you just pick it up, and it's.
And what's really interesting is because, and I know we try not to look forward, but obviously there is some stuff. I mean, we've already kind of set up that the prison that they have at the palace isn't working. They're trying to find a way to make a better prison. And down the road here, we will see that they do make progress on that goal. But they don't really end with any sort of an agreement here, which is kind of odd.
Yeah.
Like, they do that, we'll be here to protect you. But you'd think there would have been some sort of a broker of like, oh, Stratos, we know we can trust you in order to help you against Skeletor. You have our supply of Eternium. Like,
and they provide them with something that they need. Because
right.
they say at the beginning that like this Eternium somehow, they don't explain how, but somehow this Eternium is the one thing that's keeping them alive.
Right.
We don't know how that is. We don't, but if there was something else that they needed, whether it was, food or supplies or, whatever. Yeah. It would have been nice to see kind of a deal kind of bartered here.
Right.
But much like, in the Cyclone episode where they just kind of try to tie a nice happy bow at the end, they just kind of finish it up and you're left kind of wondering, okay, well, did they get any Eternium? They're just leaving without it. They're back to square one or.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have any. I mean, like, and that's it. And when the episode ended right here, I was like, really? Like that?
Well,
because
and
there's
Treppa
no
is locked up in the Eternium stocks.
The stocks,
So are they are the Masters taking him with them with that Eternium stocks?
Yep.
Or is he staying there with the Kulatox? I don't know.
Yeah, just kind of weird. And you go from Man-at-Arm and Tila's perspective, like the last thing they saw was Adam's going to go see if that was He-Man.
Right. Then Adam's gone.
Like there's no, they don't know if He-Man's on his way. Like what's going on?
Yep.
That's what they do. They need like a cutback scene of Adam or Man-Arms and Tila just sitting there like, is Adam coming back?
And I get it. It's like, whatever, a 26-minute show or something. You can't put in everything, but there's definitely some plot holes in a lot of these. So
I just think it needed some better punch at the end there. Just something like I said, even if we didn't go back to Palace, but Stratos and the leader being like, okay, we have a deal, you will get the just something to like, okay, like it didn't feel finished. It felt like it ended, but it wasn't finished, in my opinion. But we should have a moral.
Yep. Moral is we all want to be trusted, but to earn the trust of others, you need to be trustworthy. That means keeping your word, being honest, and speaking the truth. Now, keeping your word and being honest, I get those two, but isn't speaking the truth the same thing as being honest? I don't see how that's a third thing, but it's a good moral.
It's a good moral.
The fact that he is keeping his word and he's telling the truth to the Kulatox, and they see that through deeds that he actually isn't trying to rob them, and he whatever that it does relate back to the story and stuff, so it's interesting.
It was also a weird moral in the fact that like Stratos flew into screen. It was just like a sky background. And like, that was it. Like, I don't know. It was just a really usually there's something going on or whatever, but it was literally just like Stratos like popped him. Was like, be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It struck me as really weird there. Like, I'm like, oh, that was.
I think it also would have been nice if they tied in something with it. Like, being honest, keeping your word, and showing them or showing people that you live up to what you say, or that kind of thing. I think that would have tied it in a little bit better to the story, but overall good moral. So
I also think just in the morals in general, I know they've really been hit or miss, but I kind of think like it would have been cool if the morals were more like a tag to the episode, like where we could have done the same thing, but then with the way that episode ended abruptly, if then in the moral we see them like the Kulatox delivering Eternium to Man-at-Arms while Stratos is talking about being honest, keeping your word, and we're seeing that it all came together. Like that would have been cool if they just tied them in, a little less
like there was still
filmation,
part of the story going on. Yeah.
Right. And it gives you that extra 30 seconds to get that little tag in there to the
The one thing
episode.
that we talked about before, which I'm the more it goes on, the more I think might be the case, is that
Yes.
maybe a different set of people wrote and animated the morals than what did the rest of the episode. Yeah, because it does feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect with.
And like I said originally, way back when, like the morals didn't even air during the initial run of the series.
Yeah.
They cut them out completely. So, but yeah, that's just more my wishful thinking. Like we had this extra 30 seconds, we could have used that to kind of accentuate some of these stories. But
right. Any sort of other translations or interesting?
We do.
tidbits?
we have our German and we have our Italian, which I am fluent in both. So
Awesome.
In Germany, this episode was titled Vertreter Fiend, which translates to familiar fiend.
Okay.
Yep. Not
Familiar
sure.
fiend. All right.
Familiar fiend. So I guess that it's really going on the Stratos and Trapjaw relationship. Like I know you.
Yeah.
And then over in Italy, it was Duello fra I Ghiacci, which is duel in ice.
I like that. That's cool.
It works.
Yeah.
It's always interesting how they look at the episodes from a different angle. I already said about Campbell Lane. This is the first appearance of Eternium. I think we hit all of my trivia just throughout the episode there.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah. Final thoughts, or you want to jump straight to Power Sword ranking?
I'm ready for ranking.
All right, let's rank it. We got 3 Power Swords. That is the best of the best, a perfect episode. We got 2 Power Swords. That's an above average episode. We got 1 Power Sword. That is a good episode. We got the Cosmic Enforcer. That's right down the middle. It's neither good nor bad. Then we got the Havoc Staffs. 1 Havoc Staff is bad. 2 is worse. 3 Havoc Staffs means that episode should be banished to Despondos, never to be seen again. Curtis, what is your Power Sword ranking?
So with this one, obviously it has its normal kind of little bit of plot holes and silliness and why did they do this and why didn't they do that and kind of thing. It has all that kind of stuff. But that being and I wish that there was more of Stratos and Trapjaw actually working together and forming some sort of bond before the eventual turn. That all being said, I think the fight scenes are awesome. I think him ripping the gun off and using, Trapjaw's gun throughout the episode. I think the fact that he's got the broken wing and Trapjaw's got the broken leg, and so they've got to work together is really cool. The design of He-Man I thought was freaking awesome. The Prince Adam excusing himself from the room in the hilarious way had me cracking up. So I really enjoyed this episode just as a normal watch through. So even though I think it could have been better, I'm going to throw this a 2 Power Sword. Definitely not the best, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun watch. So
yeah.
And sorry, one more thing. And I think it sets it up for what's going to happen next. Like you have questions like, okay, starting the next episode, is Trapjaw still going to be like under there? Like, is he going to be captured? What's going to happen with these Kulatoks? What's going to happen with the attorney? And like it furthers the story a little bit as well. So
I agree. And that's one thing I forgot to mention is I like the fact that throughout the episode, every time you saw Stratos' wing after the accident, like it was broken still, and it hung oddly. You saw the breaks. So that was good attention to detail. Yeah, this one, all the reasons you mentioned, it's fun to see Eternium come back. I still wish that it focused more on Trapjaw and Stratos. I think you could have cut out all the Man-at-Arms and Skeletor, like radio communication stuff, and really just had it been Stratos and Trapjaw. Maybe have He-Man show up at the end just as, we were getting worried about you or whatever. But like, yeah, I think this episode really needed to be on them more of the time. I'm going to give it a 1 power sword. This is definitely a good episode. I especially like it more coming off of Robato's Gambit this time around. Like I've noticed that I give more leeway to after an episode that's more disappointing to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely
and I think that's where I landed, because I was right with you with 1 power sword.
Yeah.
But I think just the fun factor alone took it to that one next level.
Yeah,
so.
I wish there was just a bit more with them. That said, at least this is an Evil Warrior episode where he was in it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And he made a play at the end for, the big prize of the Eternium. So like, as opposed to especially Merman and Triclops, that their episodes really, like, you could replace them with anybody and it wouldn't make a difference.
I do think it, from a action figure perspective, I think it's a missed opportunity with Trapjaw, because I think you could have had him at some point like get some Eternium and all of a sudden have it upgrade his armor, because the way that Eternium looked, it's kind of like, for if anybody didn't watch the episode, it's kind of like not really translucent blue, but like a very bright, like glowing kind of blue. And so I just imagine like Trapjaw with that colored armor, like an ice looking, like a translucent blue, pauldron and arm and stuff like that. It would have just been super cool. I think it would have been a neat action figure, and would have maybe added a little bit to the story. But just from a series that is trying to base this on, hey, we're trying to sell toys, it feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and even just the fact that, like, if you give Trapjaw that upgrade, it overcomes his broken leg, and then that sets it up to why He-Man has to come in and save the day.
Yes.
Without, you can have this episode without having Skeletor involved at all.
Honestly. I think you totally could. I think it could have been, we don't see He-Man till the very end.
Right.
Like, once they lost communication or whatever, he had to come after him. We don't see him till the very end. And that's after Trapjaw has upgraded. And he's got to come in and stop him. I don't know that there's a need for Skeletor and the Evil Warriors at all.
No, I agree. All right, guys.
That being said, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was. I enjoyed it more than I remember enjoying it. So, and that's probably because initially, I remember initial viewing, I was let down by this episode just because of the buildup of Stratos Trapjaw, finding out about Eternium, and then not getting kind of that payoff. I've enjoyed it more now.
I would have had very high expectations,
right,
for a week leading into it. Like, I think that's one of those things where, if you're putting out these descriptions and stuff, I think that people would have had in their mind leading up to it, okay, this is what I'm expecting. You didn't quite nail it the way that I wanted it to, but the fact that we're just kind of watching these one after another and kind of going, it is what it is. You take it for what it is and not what the description is.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody for joining us. Do us a favor, like, share, subscribe down below. Write us a comment, because every comment you put on an episode gives you a chance to win a copy of Yuka's unofficial guide to 2002 He-Man the Masters of the Universe, unless you are Curtis Ackerman or Sean Scavarna, that is. And Curtis, anything you want to tease, or maybe we've already done?
No, I think we're good.
All right. All right, guys. Until next time, make sure you're watching on Amazon Prime, because next week we'll be back with Orko's Garden.
Oh, come on.